It's a dominant force stretching beyond time and space. It's a feeling like no other that makes your body lighter than air, but can be the most misleading to the greatest of tragedies. That's right, the all-so-consuming and romantic love.
When you don't have a date and you're all alone, Valentine's Day can be pretty dumb, but you don't have to
Then
buy
when you
any
open
cards
it,
and
you'll have
gifts.
something
Don't have
very
to
nice.
dress or
Whether it's people trying to find their other half, or an ultimate deception into getting us to procreate, there's no better representation in life that can introduce the emotions and feelings of absolute bliss compared to absolute heartbreaking and soul-shattering depression. Since Valentine's Day is approaching, I want to reach out to a large audience that may be questioning this whole idea of love and the opportunities that it might present, as well as the pitfalls that might lead unexpecting children or adults into a pit of despair. I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the idea of romance. An adorable Cupid holding a harp, playing it majestically as he shoots his bow and arrow to the next lovebird. But surprisingly, this is actually scratching the very surface of what makes romance romance. I'm here to argue that the most romantic experience is that of the individual's pursuit and drive for their truest love, and that truest love evokes every sense of passion that goes on within them. True romance is that of an individual believing in an idea, no matter how stupid or impossible or nonsensical. When we hear about a story of an artist who's trying to make it work in the big bad city, hundreds upon hundreds of people, including his family, have told him that this would never work. This guy has no clue, no evidence as to if he can live his life on his own terms. People tell him to live a certain life that goes by the book, that's been lived before. But the thought of following these steps depresses the heck out of the artist. And so, finally, the artist decides. Whether he lives or dies, he resolves to live the rest of his life as an artist on his own terms, possibly even with no safety net. The good side is, this guy gets to finally do what he wants. He finally gets to fulfill his lifelong dream as an artist and take his work seriously. But who knows, the reality might set in. Perhaps it's more than he can bear. And those who knew him before, they just can't associate themselves with someone who hasn't exactly made it yet. No one knows if he's on the right path. Heck, not even the artist knows. All the artist can do is cling on to the idea that he can make it. But alas, he can't. He loses his job, he loses his phone bill, and he can't remember the number of his parents. He moved all the way from California to New York. In all basic words, he's stranded. There's nobody here to catch him, nobody here to hold his hand. Then finally, he loses his apartment that he was renting. Now he's living as a poor person on the street, all because he had the idea to become an artist and to move out and to do things on his own. This is the reality of the situation. But life still goes on. The artist walks by a nearby park, barely having enough in his pocket, realizing that this may be the end. A kid with an ice cream cone is running towards him. The kid ends up falling, dropping his ice cream, and crying as a result. The artist is already feeling bad from his own misfortunes. The worst thing now would be for anybody else to be experiencing that kind of heartbreak. The artist realized that he doesn't have any money, but to cheer the kid up, he grabs the ice cream cone and starts to use it to draw a giant dinosaur on the ground. This cheers the kid up, and his mother comes by. The kid tells the mom that he tripped and fell, and he felt really bad. But the artist came by and drew an awesome picture for him. Despite the way the artist looked, the mother was intrigued and incredibly grateful. The kid had a really bad cut on his knee, and by all accounts, she said that he should still be crying at this moment. But because of his act of kindness, to turn something that was a tragedy into a miracle, she decided to give him money. And once this happened, the artist started to form a new idea. He then used that money to buy chalk and made the best chalk drawings that he ever could because his life depended on it. People were coming left and right trying to look at his artwork, tipping him from 20s to 50s. Although some bad kids ended up stealing his tip money and he was back at square zero. But because he was doing this for a while, some rich guy came over to him and asked him if he could possibly do chalk drawings at his party that he was throwing, promising to pay the artist $24,000. Giving him this money on the spot, it allowed the artist to finally rent another apartment, wear at least decent clothes, and once he attended the party and started drawing, a bunch of people were looking at him, amazed with his art, tipping him even more than the people at the park. More and more people were eventually asking for his artwork, if he could make commission work. Now, all these artworks are gonna be a lot of hard work, but this genuinely makes him happy to finally make something out of himself, to cut his own path, to not live the life that 1,000 people have already lived. The beauty of romance is not something that can only be seen with two people. One individual, man or woman, has to see their life as a romantic pursuit, and any bumps or bruises serve to add to their story. There's so much mystery to what an individual can accomplish. But looking through a romantic lens, when any individual hits rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. We usually always associate romantic love with two people, but as we've seen before through stories in our own lives, whether if it's us fearing the future or trying to understand exactly what we're after, or ultimately an individual who's course correcting their mind to what their heart is telling them. At the end of the day, romance's entire pursuit is of the ideals of dreams. Therefore, what love tries to achieve is a quality or feeling of mystery and excitement beyond one's day-to-day life. But that has to make us ask, why would there be a need for the highest of highest feelings? Why must each person have this ever-urging longing, this yearning for an ideal life? For this day to be the most spectacular of all is because, despite what we are shown and told about love, the reason for this grand pursuit is that people aren't really as happy as they may seem on the surface. In each corner of the world, there are deceptive shadows, homelessness, poverty, divides between the poor and the wealthy, racism, discrimination, sexism, and finally, abuse. In moments of love, this is the one truest moment where things can go right and stay pure, in the sense where everyone's happy and enjoying each other's company, and where a single individual doesn't have to question their existence, where that single individual is sure of their sense of belonging. So, from the perspective of an individual, we understand romance and love. But what about other people? I said that romance doesn't always have to do with two people, but different relationships besides your own are still worthy endeavors. But we gotta ask, why is there so much romance associated with other people? Going back to the original story that I just crafted about the artist, he was totally fine with the idea that he would die, and if he lived, that would just be in his favor. But there was an obvious resolve, an understanding that in the pursuit of his dreams, his life at any moment on this journey could cease to exist. Taking this idea and associating it with friends and family, things start to become a little bit more murkier. I'm pretty sure that we all have dreams that we aspire to conquer. That is partially what we use our lives for. We all probably want to die with no regrets, right? As long as we march towards our dreams. But our lives aren't the only ones that we'll lose. The tragedy, the ultimate thing that makes love doomed, is the knowledge that we'll lose the ones that we care about. It's not a matter of if, but when, because everyone dies. Your friends, family, and even then, your dream will only be captured in moments. The quest with love is to make these moments count, because they're the only ones you're ever gonna get. Even with pictures and priceless artifacts, these objects that represent the moment in time where things were fun, things were loving, they don't actually hold a candle to the actual moment as it's happening. Yes, the photo exists, the priceless artifact exists, but in all honesty, it's a fake compared to the real experience. Ever looked at an old photo and just got that hint of sadness and nostalgia? That's you not living in that moment in time, but remembering, because that's all you can do to recapture the exact same feeling you were feeling before. What makes these absolute great feelings so sad is that we felt them before, and now we're left up to wondering, how do we make these moments last? Friends can change. You can change. People are in your life and out of your life. Sometimes friends have different goals that leads them to different places, while you may feel stuck, or perhaps it's the opposite.
I guess this is goodbye.
Oh yeah, finally something we agree on.
In life, we're haphazardly collecting a bunch of these memories, and even though the grim fact is that no one's going to stay the same, there are at least these moments in time, frozen on a picture, or even a representation of the past and how things were. And the most interesting of the human experience is to try and keep this ball running, doing new things, despite of the risk of failure, because you never know if you're on the frontier of something that is truly incredible, something that will become nostalgic, something that will feel like deja vu. Memory seems to be at the heart of all this romantic gush, doesn't it? So, in order to make love into what it truly is hyped to be, to gather all the most positive and most extraordinary feelings that love has to offer, create new memories that'll last, whether you're alone or you're with friends or family, because eventually the time will come where you can no longer make any more memories with these people, possibly any memories, period.